Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you allowing me to participate. This hatcheries deal is very sensitive to me. We have two hatcheries in my district, Norfolk and Greer's Ferry, and I've always had an admiration for fly fishermen, and I became one myself as a result of getting very familiar and acquainted with the operation of these two hatcheries. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but these two hatcheries, just the two of them in my district, account for 1,700 jobs, $5 million in state and local tax revenue, $5.5 million in federal tax revenue, all of it on a budget for the two of them, less than $2 million. So my question is, and you've answered it, but again, I want folks at home to know that I've asked you this question and I've gotten an answer. Does the Fish and Wildlife Service consider the devastating economic impacts before making a decision to shut down a hatchery or fundamentally change their propagation? Not only are we seeing, the threat of closure looming over every year. I get a phone call every year. People, not the hatcheries, they're not the ones calling. It's the local folks that are concerned that these hatcheries are going to be shut down. It's groups that have come together, friends of Norfolk, because they're concerned, how do we continue to fight this battle with the federal government? They have no confidence. And then folks that work there are under this continual specter of termination. Is my job going to be here when I come to work tomorrow? It's just ridiculous. And again, I'd just like for to get some clarification. Is there any consideration to economic impact to the local community given as you set out your priorities on page 8 and 9 of the recently released Strategic Hatchery and Workforce Planning Report?
No, Congressman, it was not included as one of the factors in that draft vision document. That's
entirely unacceptable. Entirely unacceptable. You have folks that are directly employed there, and obviously the ripple effects of these hatcheries it's going to be devastating to our local economy, certainly, but would certainly have a drastic impact on our state. My colleague, Mr. Gosar, has illustrated that in some detail. Just for the record, on March 4th, the Assistant Director, David Hoskins, testified before the subcommittee and said the report is not a decision document. It offers options and recommendations. I understand Mr. Hoskins was new to the position in March, but why was this committee not told on that day that 13 of the 70 propagation programs had already been terminated? Why is this secrecy? Why do you not communicate with this committee?
Well, Congressman, again, this was viewed as a draft strategic plan to start engaging the stakeholders. No decisions were made.
It sounds like you were working right off of that draft plan to go ahead and implement without any congressional oversight or a council.
Well, sure, but we haven't actually implemented any of the recommendations in that larger vision document. They've been put out there, and as I told your colleague, our pledge to you is we hear you loud and clear, and going forward, all we can say is we will redouble our efforts to come back up and sit down with you and the other leaders and your staffs to work you through our version of the world.
Let me just say this. I go to those hatcheries in my district, and I look them right in the eye, and I talk to them, and they're concerned. The folks that are working there, Fish and Wildlife employees, the surrounding community, they're concerned. Has anybody in Washington left the Beltway and visited those hatcheries and looked them in the eye and said, here's the plan? We're going to go ahead and shut you down, and we're going to go ahead and deal a devastating blow to the local economy. Have a nice day.
Before coming here last summer, I served as a regional director for our Mountain Prairie region and made it a practice on a weekly basis to go out in our field stations, visit all of our employees. My geography did not include the states you gentlemen represent, but it was Montana, Wyoming, and others. Certainly all of our leaders are out there meeting the employees, the partners, and others. Personally, now that I'm in Washington, my 700 employees are here in the Washington area. That's my area of focus now. But current leaders in the hatchery program, the regional directors, and others are certainly out there looking folks in the eye, and we have folks at the Western Association.
Real quick, I've got 20 seconds left here. The FY15 Interior Probes Bill increased funding the Hatcheries program by $9 million. Will that be enough to keep the remaining propagation programs fully operating next year, yes or no?
Yes.
Do you intend to restart some of those that have already been terminated, yes or no?
Off the top of my head, I do not know, Congressman. I
I'll
apologize.
take
for
that
that.
as
We'll
a
get it
no,
for
and
the
we'll
record.
be following up with that. My time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.